Kia ora. I fell asleep really early last night, so I'm awake really early, but I like to be up early because I've got a lot to do because I've just signed on for my first place. And I'm I'm really excited about it because now that I've got my own place, I can look at getting my boys and getting my name cleared and getting this whole thing that I've sort of gone through put behind me. And I've been offered help from the WDH to register our company, Queen Bee Industries, and once I've got all that sorted, I can get my bank card, get my divorce, change my passport back into my maiden name, because I'll have an address. And I'll have the money coming in. So I just wanted to give you a quick rundown because I want my story to be an inspiration for people, men and women alike, who have been victims of the kind of abuses and that I've been a victim to. Well, I say victim, I don't want to say victim anymore. I want to say survivor. I'm not a domestic abuse victim, I'm a domestic abuse survivor. But the thing is, my abuse didn't just come from within the home. It came from my childhood and the people around me, friends, ex-students, people that I trusted, clients, that sort of thing. There was a gang-up mentality to try and stop me from achieving my dream of starting Queen Bee Industries so that my sons and I could eventually use the profits from the stores that we want to open and the products that we want to make so that we can build the Dragonarium for the Indigenous kids and unaccompanied border children and that in America. So if you've been looking at my Instagram recently, Queen Bee Industries, you'll know I recently discovered that my ex-husband copywrote the idea. He stole some of the ideas for a couple of my books and then published the books. I only found out yesterday, and I was so angry. I was so angry. I had to just say my piece and then step away because, while he was looking me in the face and pretending to be supportive of mine and our boys' future ventures in America, because I had told him that once we got to where we were going, I would look after him, that I would give him the money to retire so he could just travel the world and heal and just paint and do whatever he wanted to do. I even offered to buy him a camper van and pay for his motorbike and all that sort of thing, just to thank him for everything that he had done for me. And then he could just go off and do his own thing. I had said to him that, when it came time to get a nanny and a tutor and that for the boys, nanny/tutor for the boys, I would let him sit in on the interviews and we wouldn't pick anyone without his approval. He'd get keys to the house so that if he ever wanted to come and visit and that, he could just walk straight in. I said to him that I would give him whatever he needed just to go off and start his life and be happy. I was ready for my independence, and every time I started trying to get independent, he kept pulling me back. When I got my radio show trial in Chicago in 2017, I was supposed to be there for 3 months, and he called me back out of the blue to say that there was no one to look after the boys and I had to come back. And then the day I came back, he started accusing me of wanting to plant trackers in his vehicles, and that my students had been telling him all these things that I was planning to do to keep him trapped and under my control, and that they were going to team up with him to help him. They had offered to team up with him to help him get the boys taken off me. And then later on, he completely denied that this is what's happened. But I forgave him. I brushed it off because he sort of made out like, it was just a moment of madness and, he was tired and stressed out and blah, blah, blah. And I just moved on, sort of thing. But then he started doing things like locking the boys and I inside and then going away for extended periods and not telling us where he was going. We weren't able to reach him. We didn't know when he was coming back, how he was coming back. We had no access to food and money in that. And when we did have food, or even when we didn't have food, we had to rely on him to, get us food sent to the house. But we thought it was fun. My boys used to say it was practice for when we got our own place, what life was going to be like when we got our own place, because we would call it babysitting night, and we would watch movies and play video games and have Nerf wars and just sit and talk for hours and, eat the takeaway and have a laugh and things like that. And, that's just how it was. And every night I kept praying to God, please let me get my independence so that the boys and I can move away, and then Chris can go off and do his thing and, start his life, and we can have our life, and we'll meet in the middle for the sake of the boys, and he can go off and do what he wants to do, and I'll do what I want to do. But that I always said to him that, if he ever wanted to paint, I would put his art in my galleries, because one of the things I intended to do was open like an artist quarter, like a sort of cafe slash midnight bar, sort of midnight cafe sort of thing, where like writers and artists and, your creative minds, the ones who, because, they have trouble sleeping at night because the creative mind often suffers from insomnia. They're more creative at night than during the day. And so I wanted to own like a midnight cafe where they could come and put their paintings up, and we'd have like a little art gallery, and they could put their books in there, and play their music and that sort of thing, and have like a cognac and a sherry or a nice coffee, and that sort of thing, and just sit and contemplate and create and be around like-minded individuals. So I'd always said that I would put his paintings up, and if he wanted to either sell them or just have them on display or whatever, that I would do that for him. And I would even offer to pay to get his paintings sent from whatever country he was in to the gallery. And everything was going fine. So then a few months ago, and I fully admit that I was smoking weed. Everybody knows that I was smoking weed for my hernia situation. I had 3 hernia repair surgeries after giving birth to my boys. And my stomach fell out, my stomach muscles tore apart, and my stomach fell out, and I almost died a couple of times. And when I was in hospital on a morphine drip, I wrote some children's stories. One of them was called Thomas the Robot, which because Thomas at the time was, he still is obsessed with robots. And then, I wrote a series of stories, my Anahita Wick ones, and like Thomas the Sausage Boy and All Robots Fart, and The Littlest Engine, that's the one that I wrote for Gabriel, and The Trouble with Two Little Boys. And, I wrote all these stories for my boys, just in case anything happened to me, to leave a legacy for them, so that they would know how I saw them and the mind that I had while I was going through my hernia repair recovery, because I had to fight mesh rejection for 6 years. My body was rejecting the meshes, and I just had chronic infection after chronic infection after chronic infection. I was in and out of hospital constantly. I had 3 hernia repair surgeries within 19 months. My skin was rotting and, was rotting away, and I was just on antibiotics and different kinds of morphines for so many years. But the one thing that the boys and I had was my imagination. I used to write these stories, and we'd sit for hours playing with their toys and that. And then when I started to lose weight, when I decided to lose weight, because my little boy came into the room and he said to me, "Mama, when I grow up, I want to be a surgeon, so that when I fix your stomach, you can come and play with me and my brother at the park," because I never used to be able to go out. I had agoraphobia, like really bad by that point. I was always sick, and just it was just horrible. I was on so much medication. I just got fatter and fatter and fatter and fatter. And that was a real wake-up call for me, because I realised that if I continued down the road I was going to be dead. This is when he was like 6 years old, and he's 14 next in December. I keep thinking it's December. He's 14 in January. And so I decided to lose weight. And that's when I came up with my food, my supernatural foods. I, had a sweet tooth, as most people do, but I didn't want to eat sugar anymore because I'd gone off sugar to lose weight. And I came up with the concept of supernatural foods because I wanted to be able to have cakes and slices and cookies and things like that, but without putting the sugar into my body, because by that point I'd lost so much weight and I was feeling so good and fit and healthy. I didn't want to ruin it, because every time I'd then try to have chocolate or anything like that, I would end up with like really bad arthritic pain. I was born with a degenerative spinal disease and arthritis of the spine. Because of my mum's cancer, she had cervical cancer when she was pregnant with me, and I wasn't supposed to survive. She wasn't either, but we were both considered miracles, because she was given 7 years to live after I was born, but she lived for 35. So that's something to be so grateful for. I got 35 years with her when I should never have known her and she should never have known me. So, you know, it's a small miracle, really. So because I had almost died after having Gabriel, he was only 3 months old when I collapsed the first time. I had a twisted bowel, and they gave me 24 hours to live. They said if I hadn't have gone to the hospital when I did, I would have been dead within 24 hours, because I had a twisted bowel as well as the strangulated hernia. And then I was told when I got out of hospital I wasn't allowed to move for 14 days to let the mesh settle in. But as soon as I was picked up and dropped back at the house with a 2-year-old boy and a newborn baby, my ex-husband left the house to go back to work, and then I had to do washing and lift a 10-pound 6-ounce baby. I was basically told I had to sit in a chair for 14 days. I slept in a chair with a newborn baby by my side for 14 days, where I had to, do all the housework and cook and clean, and that, when I was told I wasn't allowed to move. So then, of course, I got another hernia a few months later, and then I ended up with a knot in my bowel, and again I collapsed and I almost died. But the second time, my ex-husband wasn't actually with us. He was working in England, and we were in Scotland, and the doctor wanted to call an ambulance, but my ex insisted that I wait until he drove home before I went to the hospital, because he didn't want the boys sitting in the hospital or be taken into care or anything while we were waiting for him to come up. And so I agreed, and then I was sort of just on the brink of collapse when he turned up, and I was rushed into surgery, and Mr. Alani, for the second time, saved my life. I would love to track him down one day. He is an Iraqi doctor, and he saved my life both times. He monitored my hernias during my pregnancy with Gabriel, because they discovered my hernia just after I had Thomas. I literally felt my stomach fall out of place. When I was having the shower, I watched it drop and fall out. And so when I got pregnant with Gabriel, they had to monitor my pregnancy, and I was put in under the care of Mr. Alani at Perth Royal Infirmary in Scotland, and he saved my life twice. And then the same thing happened. I wasn't allowed to move, but was left to my own devices, and I got another hernia about 6-7 months after that. And this time they discovered a hole in my stomach, and from then on I was given like the biggest mesh possible and sent home to recover. And from there, my stomach started rotting, and I stunk of rotting flesh, and it was horrible. I had this bacteria eating my belly button, and everything turned green, and the nurse used to have to come every day to give me injections and change my dressings, and it was just horrible. So for 6 years I lived with this mesh rejection and chronic infection and chronic pain, and just getting fatter and fatter and fatter and fatter. So when my son said to me, that he wanted to be a surgeon to fix my stomach, it was a wake-up call, and I knew if I didn't do something, I was going to die, and I would never see my children grow up. And I had lived my whole entire life to be a mum, and I wasn't going to let that happen. So I went off sugar. I still ate whatever I wanted. I just went off all forms of sugar. And through that, I developed my supernatural foods, because then I came up with recipes and ways to satiate your sweet tooth with cakes and puddings and desserts and slices and chocolate and that sort of thing, but completely sugarless, like Willy Wonka, but sugarless. No artificial sweeteners, everything's organic, supernatural, and it heals you as you eat it. A lot of my food, using alchemy, using, molecular chemistry, I used it to become medicinal. So like I was saying to the lady who's going to help me at the WDH, when I register Queen Bee Industries, like my pumpkin pie, for example, helps kill cancer cells, and it also helps with menstrual pain, the effects of menopause. It lowers your blood pressure. It's really good if good for your heart. So if you have heart conditions, it's safe for you to eat. And it's full of vitamins and minerals, and this sort of thing. So a lot of my food is medicinal. One of the things I intend to do when we open Mama's kitchen and bakery, is on the menus in there, I'm going to explain, all the different health benefits and medical benefits of eating our foods. Hence why it's called supernatural, because it's not only like incredibly natural food, but it's almost seems magic because of the fact that it heals you as you eat it. And I've used my weight loss and my journey as an example to show, when it came time to publicise and promote and market my food, that it works, because like I've documented my weight loss, I've documented my health ups and downs, I've documented my entire journey. So when it came to the point where it was time to market and advertise supernatural foods, the proof would be in the pudding, and that was going to be my marketing ploy. Like, supernatural foods, the proof is in the pudding. Yeah, it works. And so for 3.5 years, I had been planning since 2016 to get to America to be with my soon-to-be ex-husband, and we had come up with this idea or I had come up with this idea to open a school for creative inner-city children, and it just kind of grew from there and grew into what we know to be Queen Bee Industries today. It expanded, and it sort of became like if we become successful at this thing, this is what we're going to do next. And if that becomes successful, this is what we're going to do next kind of scenario. Because I want to reinvest any money that my sons and I make into like spreading the wealth, expanding the empire so that we can spread the wealth. And everything that we create is for the benefit of either education, physical, mental health and well-being of like teenagers, children, and the creative empathic mind. So then when I started writing Andre's Dragon, which was originally about my soon-to-be ex-husband, it morphed into, the Anahita Wick series, because at the start of the story, he meets Anahita, the cartographer, who gives him the magic map that he's to go on this quest to, meet Brehenius, Aithusa the dragon, at the end of the last chapter, of when he gets to the seven kingdoms based on your ascension elements, and the last kingdom is the creative kingdom, like the creative frequency kingdom. I don't know what I'm going to call it yet. I haven't finished writing the book because I had to change it so much because my life changed so much, and I write about what I know. I just use magic and mystery and imagination to do it, and so many things happened in my life after my ex-husband, soon-to-be ex-husband, and I broke up, that I had to wait things out and like learn to retell my story, so to speak, because I had to turn Andre into a completely new character based on me, but still telling the story of a boy, because by that point I'd already established he was a male. So anyway, so then Brehena Saithusa became a part of the Queen Bee Industries empire, because then I came up with the Anahita Wicks series of children's stories, and the Babysitters Club, and I wanted to come up with a range of plushies and toys and that sort of thing. So it just expanded from there. My ideas, as I was figuring stuff out of things that I wanted to do, of ways I could make money to fund the Dragonarium and eventually North Star Studios, which is what I want to call the school for the creative empathic inner city children and underprivileged kids and all that. We would pollinate. Queen Bee Industries would pollinate, go from flower to flower to flower, and spread the wealth and pollinate, spread the honey, so to speak. And so I came up with these stories. I came up with this whole brand for Anahita Wick, the fairy godmother. Brehena Saithusa became a real star in the Cepheus constellation. I bought a real star. She's a real North Star in the Cepheus constellation. And so it became like this whole thing. So then yesterday I discovered, after everything I'd been through for, with my children, and I sitting there for 3.5 years, working out we had to re-strategize a way to start again. We still wanted to go to America, but obviously it wasn't going to be with my soon-to-be ex-husband, so we had to re-strategize. So for 3.5 years we came up with this plan, this step-by-step plan of where we were going to pollinate first, going from flower to flower, like when we get the money to do this, this is what we'll do next. So with the help of WDH helping us establish the foundations for Queen Bee Industries here in Wakefield now, when we open our department store, which I think I'd like to call Homeward Bound, and inside our department store there'll be Mama's Kitchen and Bakery. And I'll just have my little art gallery and stuff in there. So if that does well, then we would like to venture into making our video games, because by that point my Beyond Life program, which is a program that I developed many years ago for creative empathic incarcerated inmates, to honour my soon-to-be ex-husband and his friends who were incarcerated at the time, who were very creative, talented men, writers and artists in that. I came up with, I had been working on the concept for the Quantum Menace for years and years and years and years. So I decided to hand over my comic books to the Beyond Life program, to the inmates, to let them develop the Quantum Menace comic book so that we could get it published, and then eventually we would make the game to go along with the comic book, and keep pollinating, keep going. And so we've decided that the money that we making, if we're fortunate and everything goes well, we will go into games. We've decided to call our games company Speaking Trees Games, and the three of us, my boys and I, we'll get some artists and coders in there on board, and we'll start our own little games company, even if I have to do it from even if we've got to do it from our bedrooms or something, at this point, whatever we have to do to get the Quantum Menace video game made. Like we've poured thousands and thousands of hours into establishing the concept for the Quantum Menace and storyboarding it, and detailing everything out, and I'm so proud of it. I can't wait to see that game developed. And then after that, if that does well, there's another one that my son has come up with that we want to make as well. So we just want to keep pollinating and just keep going from flower to flower and, spreading the wealth and reinvesting. So my sons and I have spent 3.5 years with tens of thousands of hours talking constantly till like we were falling asleep sometimes, about our plans and how we were going to invent and create and reinvest in order to get to America to build the Dragonarium and then eventually North Star Studios. So then yesterday I found out that their father, my ex-husband, had stolen the concept for one of my stories, one of my plans, for the Dragonarium, and turned it into a book of his own and published it and is selling it on Amazon. And there's another one, Obot, that he's stolen from me as well. And when I said to him that he had taken the idea of Obot and turned it into a story, he completely flipped it and was like, oh no, it's about this and it's about that and blah, blah, blah. But I knew the second he told me what the story was about, that he'd stolen my story, but I brushed it off because I thought, well, he wouldn't do that to me because I'm the mother of his kids, and we've been through a lot, and I helped him with his depression, because I help creative empaths, and he was actually the template when he was suffering from his mental health. He had many years of being suicidal, and it was terrifying as his wife to watch him, have these meltdowns and that, where he would then go off and threaten to commit suicide. I wouldn't know if he was going to come back alive in that. So when he got diagnosed with, I don't know what the modern equivalent, I think it's just called neurosis or psychoneurosis. I wanted to help him, so I completely changed his diet, and we got him a job out into the country, and I started working on his empath program for him, and it seemed to work. And so I took him as the template going forward to want to help other creative empaths. And then, of course, this is where North Star Studios came about, because then I wanted to help children because of the suicide rate through my work. I was dealing with a lot of parents who had children who had committed suicide. The youngest one was 7. I was dealing with children who were wanting to commit suicide, and it was just, it really badly affected me because I love my boys so much. I couldn't bear the thought of my boys ever feeling like they wanted to kill themselves, that that I had made their world bad enough that they didn't want to live in it anymore. So as a mum, from the minute they were born, I have surrounded their world with imagination and creativity and love and laughter and that, so that they see the beauty in imagination and creativity, so that they want to be a part of what it is we create, so that they want to continue living. And through that, I'm proud to say that when my boys experienced a situation a couple of weeks ago when one of their friends was threatening to attempt suicide, was contemplating suicide, my boys came to me, which was such an honour for me, because they trusted me with how they were feeling, and then they used my experiences through my job to help their friend and their circle of friends recover from the shock and the trauma of what had just happened. And I was so proud of them. And that's when I knew that God was telling me it was time for us to be able to start they were pollinating what I had created in them as their mother. They were now pollinating and spreading the honey amongst their friends. And so, they're incredible ambassadors for Queen Bee Industries and everything I stand for in wanting to help children and young people, and mental health, and like the creative empathic mind, to become more imaginative and creative. And they are leaders. They are born leaders, and I'm so proud of them. And they come and they tell me, we sit down, and chat over the phone, and they tell me what they're doing with their friends and that, and I'm so proud of them, and I feel so honoured that they trust me with these things. And it shows me that regardless of anything that my ex-husband has tried to say about me, I know I've done a good job as a mum, because my boys just want to be with me. They're proud of me, and they think I'm strong, and they believe in me. And throughout this whole ordeal, they've never given up on me. So now what happened was a few months ago, in June, I came to the realisation that the weed I was smoking and the food I'd just eaten was laced, and I was having a reaction to the drug that had been put into my system. If you watch some of my videos in the months leading up to June, you'll notice that my speech is slurred. I keep making jokes on Instagram and that about how I'm coughing all the time. I have this cough I can't get rid of. I'm slurring, I'm stumbling, like I keep tripping up and keep getting spots in front of my eyes and all that sort of stuff. And he gave me some pizza, and I realised when I was having this reaction that he'd done something, because he threw the pizza at me and ran down the stairs like a bat at it. I've got to go, I've got to go. And he looked absolutely panicked. And it was by that reaction and by the taste of the funny tasting pizza, I knew he'd done something. So then I had the realisation that the father of my children had done something to try and put me in harm's way. So I've had to spend the last few months coming to the realisation, having to deal with the fact that this person that I had spent so many years helping, the father of my children, this man I was offering to support in the future, to, just let him go off and live his best life and all that sort of thing, free as a bird, hated me so much he was trying to put me in harm's way. So then I had told him not to come back to the house, that I knew what he'd done. So then my boys and I then had to sit and regroup while I was trying to deal with the toxins that were in my body, to figure out what we were going to do next. And he then decided to call the police and tell the police that I was barricaded in the house with weapons and I was threatening to commit suicide in front of my boys, which was a lie. He was in the house at the time he claimed I was suicidal and barricaded in. I'd called the police on him, and they said it because he got up and left, and they said because it was his house, we had to think of somewhere else to go. So I sent my boys to sleep eventually, and I was trying to think of what I could do and where I could go while I was trying to get these drugs out of my system, because I wasn't thinking clearly, because I didn't know if I was going to have a heart attack and die. Like, I didn't know what was in my system. So then, my shock, the police turn up, start treating me like I'm, the soft, sensitive, could be harmful at any point person, and I knew exactly what he'd done. So then I said to the police, I want it on record here and now. I think my weed's been laced, and I want a blood test. So then my ex-husband then told the police this lie, that got me put in a psychiatric hospital where I was force-fed medication that I was allergic to every day. Every day I would have to take this tablet that would make me vomit so much that my C-section scars split open and got infected, and my hernia scars split open and got infected. And their reason for the diagnosis of psychosis that they gave me is because they said that I had delusions of grandeur because I kept talking about my plans to go to America. Now, the thing is, what they diagnosed as delusions of grandeur, the Wakefield District Housing Company or Department or whatever they're called, now want to help me invest in that delusion of grandeur, because when I explained to them what my plan was, they loved it so much they wanted to help me get this business off the ground. And also because of the fact that my business is based around my indigeneity and how I am able to use nature and food to heal, the hospital diagnosed that as a mental illness, which is why I'm now fighting for Indigenous rights. The last video I made, which I'll put a link in the description box below, is all about me fighting. Not the last video, sorry, the second to last video. The speaking to be listened to, not to be heard video, is all about me fighting, because Chris had told them that I was putting things on Instagram that were upsetting my children, when I was actually putting up evidence of the crimes he'd committed against me. When I had put up this evidence to say that I was going to get the police to do forensic testing on the pizza tray and that sort of thing, he then suddenly starts scrubbing the oven and the pizza tray within an inch of its life and insisting that the boys start eating food off the pizza tray. And when they refused to do it, he basically put them in a no-win situation, and then my little boy got sick, and so on and so forth. So then he told the hospital that I was upsetting the children. I had my phone taken off me for weeks, and I had no access to lawyers. I had no access to my family. I had no access to anything because I was trying to let the British government and the New Zealand government know that I was that my human rights had been violated and that I was under racial discrimination because they had completely classed my Indigenous upbringing and my beliefs and my business plan as a mental illness, which is a gross violation of human rights and is illegal according to the British Law Commission. It's against the law to judge someone based on their ethnicity, their race, their faith or their cultural background, and that's exactly what happened. I had tried to show everyone the evidence because I had videotaped that entire night. When I knew what was going on, I realised the prophecy had come true, so I made sure to record everything that happened. Not one person looked at the video, no one investigated the videos, they all just believed his lie. So then when I discovered that he'd stolen my book, and that him and his secret missus that he told police he didn't have an illegal statement had set up this company where they were going to make cards based off the idea he stole from my book, because I've wanted to make tarot cards as well. I used to originally do readings with normal playing cards, and I think this is what their intention was. They were trying to take over my business. They were trying to take over my ideas and my structures and that, and they were making money off mine and my boys' plans and ideas, which were downloads from God, because God was the one that told me this is what I had to do for the children. So that's been a lot to deal with. I've had a lot of people fighting in my corner. I do want to stress emphatically that not everybody in that hospital was out to do me harm. There were a couple of doctors that I intend to get involved in this court case when it does all go to court, because I will have to tell my story. People are going to want to know our story when our business comes out, because this is all part of my weight loss journey. And I do want to stress emphatically, there were a lot of nurses that were fighting in my corner for me to be free, who disagreed with the diagnosis and could not understand why I had been sectioned. And they were fighting in my corner, and for them I will always be grateful. Also, there was a doctor in there. Sorry, I'm just having a sip of coffee. There was a doctor in there who recognised that I was actually a victim of domestic abuse. And because my ex had made himself my next of kin, even though legally he's not, they were kind of stuck, and he point blank refused to let me go home to him because he feared for my safety by that point. He believed my story, and he said to me, I cannot, in all good consciousness, Dr. Bakula, let you go back to that man. He said, I want to see you in your own place. I want to see you having your own money. I want to see you independent, and then we will get your boys back. Because by that point, everybody believed my ex, and I wasn't allowed near my children. I haven't seen my children. I haven't held my babies in nearly 6 months because of his lies. But they never gave up on me, and I have never given up on them, and we will be together. I have no doubt. I know that God has a greater plan for us, and we will be together because justice is coming, because I'm going to make sure of it. But that isn't why I'm telling this story. It just hurts because I missed my baby's 12th birthday, and I missed their first Halloween, and I'm terrified I'm going to miss Christmas. And then after that is my boy's 14th birthday. Such is the hate that Christopher Black has for me, that he would rather see his children suffer, and they are suffering. They ask me all the time, why can't we just be with you? We don't want to be here, we want to be with you. They know the story, they know the truth. The police, social services, nobody has asked them their side of the story, and they were witnesses to that night. They have been sitting and waiting patiently for someone to come and hear their side of the story, because they're getting ready they want to defend me. They know what happened that night. They know the abuse I've been under all my years, I've been with Chris and that, and nobody's been listening to our story. Nobody was listening. But a few of the nurses understood, and Dr. Bakula understood. Mr. Bakula, I think he is, Dr. Bakula, understood, and they were fighting for me. So I will not hold that hospital responsible for the actions of a few unprofessional people when I had so much support in there. The only reason why, and he said himself, the only reason why you're in here for as long as what you are is because you have nowhere to go, and I will not have you out on the street, and I will not go letting you go back into that man's control. So then I got put in emergency housing where I am now. And yesterday, I'm proud to say that I got my first apartment, got my first flat. I signed up, and I'm just waiting to get a bed and a cooker and a fridge freezer, and I'll have nothing else, just a bed, a cooker and a fridge freezer. And look, I'll show you. Plastic plates and knives and forks and that from Poundland that I got a few weeks ago, and I've been keeping containers. This is what I have my cereal in, keeping storage containers in that. Look, that's a meat tray from a kebab I got that I keep my fruit in, and I've just been I'm gonna go and try and get a kettle and a toaster. I won't have any pots or anything like that, but if I can get myself like a cheap little pizza tray or something, I can have oven chips, and I'll have a kettle so I can do like cups of soup and that until I can get pots and plates and that. But I'm proud of myself, because I started with nothing. When I had to leave that house, I had nothing but the clothes on my back, my bag, and my phone. And so I'm just waiting to find out about getting a bed, and it's only going to be a single bed, which I'm gutted about because I'm 6 foot tall. So, and a cooker and a fridge freezer, and then I can move in. But I need to move pretty quick, otherwise I have to start paying rent in this place, and I don't have any money. So fingers crossed there that I get to move out. But it's the start of everything now, because I have an address. I can get my passport changed into my maiden name. It's because all my ID for my universal credit and that is still in my ex-husband's name, because my passport is still in his name. So when I get my passport changed, I need like the 100 quid and the 16 quid to get the marriage license, so I can change my passport into my maiden name. Then all my government stuff can go in my maiden name, because I will not have my business registered under his name. I will not have it. He has taken so much from me, and tried to destroy my life and keep my boys away from me. And I'm fighting tooth and nail to clear my name and to bring justice to this situation, because when we start making video games and that, because he is in the video games industry, I don't want any involvement or association or connection to him and what he does in video games. Plus also, I'm well aware of the fact that he's been in the industry for over 20 years, and could do a lot to stop me from getting employees, which I really hope he wouldn't do, because his sons are going to be running the company, working in the games development side of it, and he would literally be taking money from the mouths of his own children. So, but I want everyone to know I'm not telling this story to be a victim. I'm telling this story to show people what it is to be a survivor. I have always maintained that I wanted to be a good role model and leader for my children and for the children that are going to be in my care and for employees and, for the community that I was going to be giving jobs to and spreading the wealth with and helping out in any way that we could to give back, because God is giving me these blessings so that I can spread the wealth, so that I can, spread the light. He wants me to show people the good that can come out of, following the word of the Lord. When He blesses you with wealth and prosperity, He expects you to do it so that you can spread the wealth. And I know that there's too many people out there willing to hold their hands out to take the money, and He had always stressed that I was to give the money where there was a need and not a want for it. So that's why, we're going to reinvest in certain businesses and in certain areas and avenues that best helps people in need and not in want. You know what I mean? Like, we all want a holiday, but we don't need one. But, there are people that need furniture and there are people that need food. And so my boys and I came up with this idea that what we would do, especially with Wakefield, especially with the situation that I've been in, they have food banks in that here, but when we open Mama's Kitchen and Bakery, we decided that any food that's left over at the end of the day, we're going to put a little flag up outside our store, and any homeless and hungry people, man, woman, child, immigrant, whatever, if they're hungry and they need food, they can come and take our leftovers for free. And I even turned some of my leftover products into cheap, affordable meals for people. If they want to come and have like cheap dates and things like that, they can come and take their wives and partners and whoever on a date, and it might be sort of like a day-old cake, but they'll only pay like £1 for the pudding, if you know what I mean. So we came up with all these incredible ideas, and this is what my ex has just tried to take from us. When I found out yesterday that he'd stolen the idea for my book, and that I was so angry I almost cried blood. But then I saw my new flat, and it's beautiful. And there's a gluten-free fish and chip shop right next door. I had put a tweet up saying, could I please have fish and chips? And there's a gluten-free fish and chip shop like right across the road. And it's big enough that when my boys do come, because I'd said, please, could I have a 3-bedroom, not a 1-bedroom, Lord? But then when I went to sign for the tenancy, they said you can have up to 3 people in the property. So I said, well, when I do get my boys back, because WDH said that we'd be all right to stay there for now until I put in a bid for a proper place for a 3-bedroom. By that point, I'm hoping our business will be established and I'm making money so that I can be a taxpayer and a private renting citizen. That's my dream, is to be able to rent my own property and pay my taxes and be a tax-paying citizen, and not someone who takes from the taxpayer. And to every British taxpayer out there, I can't thank you enough for your hard work to put me in this property for the 6 weeks that I'm here, and for the universal credit payments that I've been getting since October. And I promise you with my hand on heart, when I'm a businesswoman, I will give back every penny, and I will give back double in kind. I will use that money to pollinate Wakefield and help you out any way that I can, my hand on heart. And even when we're in America, I will still continue to do things to help Britain, because registering in Britain and taking my business to America, like expanding to America, I'll still have to pay British taxes. So I will do that, and I will continue to give back double, triple everything that you have kindly done for me. So for every working tax-paying British citizen out there, my sons and I cannot thank you enough for supporting me. And I promise you, with my hand on my Bible and my heart on my rosary beads, I will repay you for your kindness and your hard work, especially those who are getting up and working long, hard hours and suffering for their toil and labour to pay taxes for people like me to be able to sit in a hotel and not freezing out on the street. So I promise you I will be giving back. And I think this is why God brought the WDH to me. And I have had people want to come and be private investors, and the Job Centre have offered to help me as well. When people hear my business ideas, they just fall in love with it and they want to be involved. So when the WDH came to me and said, we will give you the lawyers to get everything signed up and registered, we'll help you register your business, we'll help you with marketing, we'll help you with advertising, all that sort of stuff, because I think maybe it's in their best interest and well, it's going to bring money in for Wakefield, and I'll be able to, as I said to Jessica at the Job Centre, I'll be able to take people off your hands. She said to me, oh, we'll be out of a job, you'll put us out of a job. And I said, but that's a good thing, isn't it? Not for her, but, I will be able to employ people. And I think this is what it is this is the start of me giving back to Wakefield, because I think this is what God was saying, like, start here, Debbie. Start pollinating here and spread the honey here, and then let it expand and grow. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. So next week I have my meeting with the WDH, I think it is. She said they're just waiting for the new replacement who's going to be helping me and get everything signed up. And then hopefully from then on I can get grants to rent premises and go from there. So I'm not, what am I trying to say? I'm not a victim, I'm a survivor. The light of the Lord. And then there was light. I'll take that as confirmation. And I'm about to get my own place, and I'm going to get justice, and I'm going to have my name cleared, and I'm going to get my boys back, and we're going to build and expand this business and pollinate Wakefield and pollinate Yorkshire and pollinate England and pollinate Britain and then pollinate the rest of the world. And I'm proud to say that I've done it all myself, that even in spite of everything that everyone did and all the people he got on board to try and hound me and take me down and shadow ban my YouTube and my Instagram and all that sort of thing, I broke through. So now I've got my own place. When I had been led to believe that I was too incapable of doing anything myself, I signed my first tenancy. I've signed up for council tax. I'm just waiting to get help from charities and that for furniture to move in, and I can't wait to move in, because then I can work on my business plan to take to the WDH in full, because when you register for a business here, they want to know every inch of what your plans are. So, my boys and I have been going over every detail. We've been going over like the names of the games company we want to start, and the name of the store and the name of the bakery, just because it all needs to be written down. My sons are on my board of directors. I do not talk to anybody else or make any business decisions without them. And my two sisters are coming on board, which I'm so proud of. My sister Paula, who is a tarot reader, she's the most incredible tarot reader, is going to help me develop my training pack. From there, she's going to be my consultant, and my sister Erin has agreed to be my stylist for all my publicity, because I'll have to, because they're going to help me promote my food, and I want to get my sauces and soups and jams and pickles and all that, out on the shelves. And because I want to rival like Jenny Craig and Weight Watchers and that for my food, it's going to require a big marketing drive, which means interviews on TV and radio and magazines and that sort of thing. So I'm getting a ton of exercise at the moment to get my body ready. And my sister Erin has agreed to be my stylist, and I said as soon as I'm making money, she can give up her job and be my stylist full time. And she just said, oh my God, I would love that so much. So we've been working on an image for me. I was going to go with a 1950s housewife image, but I'm not a housewife anymore. I'm a single working mum. I'm a businesswoman, but I said I didn't want to be, that hard boss lady, hair in a tight bun kind of thing. And she came up with this idea that is just perfect for me, that I just love so much. So it's just been incredible. And I've been talking to various business owners and the working force around here who have all said, when you're up and ready to go, I want a job. When you're up and ready to go, I want to be a part of this. When you're up and ready to go, I'll promote you if you promote me, that sort of thing. Because I've been networking and I've spent like the last 2 weeks now pollinating, telling my story everywhere I go. And I have people saying to me all the time, can I have a job? Like, I will leave my job to come and work for you when you're ready to go. So, we want to expand into video games and making these apps that I've had planned for a few years, and I'm so excited. And the second I get a bed and a cooker and a fridge freezer, which I'm really hoping is soon, because my funding will run out for here now that I have a property, and I'll have to start paying and I don't have any money. So I need to get out of here as quick as possible. So Becky from the housing team is working to get me a fridge freezer and a cooker and a bed, and then I can move into my property with my little plastic plates and knife and forks, and I'll need to get myself a coffee cup and a glass, and a pizza tray or an oven tray, and I'm ready to go. And then I can sit down snuggled under my blanket, because I will not be turning heating on, and work on my business plan until I get justice and get my boys back, and then we can really start to push this thing forward. So to anyone out there who feels like the odds are stacked against them, for anyone out there who feels like they are never going to break through that glass ceiling for independence, for anyone who is a victim of domestic abuse or a victim of gang stalking or a victim of a human rights violation, any victim mentality that you have, where you think you're never going to get out of the mire to see the light of dawn, I'm here to tell you to hold your head up and do not give up, because if I can do it, you can do it. If I can crawl through that fire on my hands and knees over the last 50 years of my life, and that's the thing, I had to have my 50th birthday away from my babies. And so, he's taken a lot from us, but so much more has been replaced because of it. I wouldn't have known how strong I was had he not have pushed me to have to be a survivor. I would not have known how much my boys love and respect me had we not have had this time apart, where they now see me as someone they can be proud of, and someone that they tell their friends about how proud they are of me and everything that we're building. They talk constantly about Queen Bee Industries and our plans to make video games in the future, and to open our stores and spread the wealth and that, because they want to get their friends involved as games testers, which I would absolutely love to do. So things are going, the cogs are starting to turn, and I cannot thank Wakefield enough for everything that they've done and everything that they're getting ready to do for me, and for my boys. For never stopping once in defending me and protecting me, and believing in me, and never giving up. I do it for them, and for God, for being with me during the hardest times of my life in that hospital, for leading me back to Jesus, for introducing me to some incredible people who protected me like a bullet while I was in there, and now that I'm out, for encouraging me to stand on my own 2 feet and showing me how to be independent on my own for the first time in my entire life. I do this all for you, and I will take you with me everywhere I go. And when I open the Dragonarium, the children's home in South Dakota, and I open North Star Studios, which I will do, I have like a multi-step plan. I will make sure to honour you in everything that I do. I will find a way to honour you. I will plant a tree and name it after you. I will create products. Like I already said, I've come up with an idea for a cookie, to honour the nurses who took care of me, who supported me while I was going through this, who fought in my corner. They fought in my corner. And Joe, um, who fought for me to have food because I was going days and days and days without food. My kidneys were packing up and I was getting like rashes all over my face and that from starvation. She fought the hospital to give me food because I have a high fat, high protein diet because of my gluten and egg allergy. I was often being turned away at the cafeteria, not being able to have food. And if it wasn't for my friend BJ getting food delivered to the hospital, I wouldn't be here today. I would be dead. My heart was starting to give out. I was too scared to go to sleep. It was quite bad because I was dealing with anaphylaxis every day, but I just kept pushing through. I just kept reading the Bible and sitting with God and going to church, and I would sit in my room and I would talk to God and I would just read the Bible over and over and over, and He was with me during my darkest hours. And that's what I realised, is that throughout my entire life He's been with me during my darkest hours, and now there is light at the end of the tunnel. This is the light at the end of the tunnel, and I'm just about to step through it. I'm just waiting for my boys. I'm waiting for a bed and a cooker and a fridge freezer, and then that's me stepped into my new life. And I have been told that I'm allowed my boys in that property until we get a bigger place. And I said I would turn the living room into my boy's bedroom so he gets his own privacy, because I won't have a lounge suite or a TV or anything like that. So I'm going to have an empty living room. So when he comes to me, and he will come to me because I'm going to make sure of it, that I get my boys back and my name is cleared. He can have the living room, and it's a huge living room. It's almost the size of the room that he shares with his brother, and then his brother can be with me, which he wants. He misses his snuggles with his mama, and we'll start from there. I hope God allows me to say that I'm proud of myself, knowing that comes from virtue and not vice, because I achieved the impossible. My entire life has been one uphill battle from the minute I was conceived until right now that I've become an independent woman. I won't consider myself truly independent until I'm a taxpayer and a businesswoman raising my children. Then I'll consider myself a completely independent woman. But for now, it's a good start. And I don't want anyone out there to give up hope. And I don't want anyone out there to give up on their dreams. And I don't want anyone out there to think that the impossible is impossible, because it's not impossible. The possible was completely possible, and I'm living proof. And watch out for my products, watch out for my stores, watch out for my advertising, watch out for me, because I'm about to hit the world stage, and I'm going to sing like a bird and tell my story to encourage people to be survivors and not victims, to let their story help and encourage others to continue to keep their heads towards the sun and hold their heads up, and know themselves as leaders and not followers, know themselves as strong and not weak, know themselves as survivors and not victims. And I just wanted to let you all know how I was doing. My next video will probably be with me in my new flat. I'll show you around. There's no carpets, no curtains. I've got a couple of blinds. I don't even care. My kitchen's gorgeous. It's a beautiful kitchen. It's brand new. and I can't wait to get everything in there so that I can start baking, because my boy says I need to work on my Victoria sponges, because working with sugarless food, you have to make allowances with ingredients and, tweak things a lot, to accommodate, the chemical components in that, to make things sweeter and richer and more moist. And he says that my sponges are moist, but they're not fluffy. So I'm hell bent on getting myself a blender and all the kitchen stuff that I need, so that I can perfect my Victoria sponges. And I said, until they're back under my roof, I'm going to get on a bus with my samples, and I'm going to text message them and leave samples at the gate, and they can come out and test these samples. And when I'm getting on the bus back to my house, they can critique, and he can let me know, because he's the one. My boy Thomas is helping me with the video games. Like, Gabriel is helping with the video games as well, but his speciality is food. He has the most incredible palate, for taste and smell, and that it's phenomenal. He's just pure magic. So he's my supernatural foods business partner, whereas Thomas is the one that's going to be helping me more with the games development and, for speaking trees, and Gabriel is too. And Thomas does help in the food side of it. He's even been learning to cook. Thomas is incredible with pastry. And that's the other thing, is that Thomas has asked, when we open our cafe and bakery, could he work in customer service and, wait tables and serve the customers and that, because he wants to meet and greet people. So I've said he can absolutely have a job, working in the store, and I think it'll be good for them to, earn money outside of their pocket money. And Gabriel wants to learn the bakery, so when I employ my bakers, in my bakery and cafe, we'll get him a job as a baker's assistant, because he wants to learn how to do the breads and the pies and all that sort of thing. So my boys are really getting hands-on involved in it, and I think it's going to be good for them to learn everything from the ground up, which they have already, from everything that they've seen me create in the kitchen and in my bedroom, and that they'll now be able to learn the business side of it, working as store assistants and bakers assistants, and then going into, the game development and all that sort of thing. So it's all very exciting. By the time we get the Dragonarium built and North Star Studios and that, they'll be full-blown teenagers with a ton of experience, and they'll be incredible ambassadors. They'll be the youngest kids in games that own a games development company, and will be a mother and sons. Games development company will be a mother and sons industry. And if I can go global and have my stores all over the world, if I can have my Dragonariums all over the world, if I can have my studios all over the world, then by the time I'm dead and buried and my grandkids are running my empire, hopefully then, I've paid off all my ancestral karmic debt for every member of my family. And it would have all have been worth it. Everything I've gone through over the course of my 50 years will have been worth it. And that is my plan, and I'm not going to stop until I get it, with God on my side and my boys on either side of me, and with the incredible support that I've been getting from my wonderful sisters and Wakefield, and especially Wakefield District Housing, and the Job Centre, because they've been incredibly supportive as well, especially with offering to send me on business courses and things like that. But I don't intend on being hands-on with any of that stuff. I'm the creator. I'm getting these businesses up and running and employing people. If I take the job myself, then I can't be out there reinvesting and doing business deals and pulling in more revenue for Wakefield and for my companies. My whole purpose is to, when I get this up and running, is to employ Indigenous people, ethnic minorities, immigrants, the travellers from the travelling community. I'm going to employ all of them, homeless people, obviously you're going to have to be qualified. I'm not going to just let anyone walk in. I'm going to have shareholders in that I need to look after, and look after my vested interests and all that sort of thing. But yeah, I'm going to be employing a lot of people within my companies, and that was the whole purpose, is to spread the wealth. And my wages will take care of people who can take care of their families and look after themselves, in the hopes that they're never in situations like mine. So I will work with people in domestic abuse shelters, male and female, to give them jobs, and to help get them on their feet as well. And my boys and I are gonna pollinate to give back, because I want to make sure that that I'm the last one. I know that is a nice thought, but if I can help one person, if I can help 10 people, if I can help 1,000, and not the millions that need it, then I still can hold my head up high when I die and know that I did my bit for humanity, and that I did everything that God put me here to do. As well as the fact that we want to have our animal conservation programs and have our sanctuaries. And I just asked my boys if I could have an equine sanctuary to take on to home horses and mules and donkeys and that were up for slaughter, and alligators and that as well, because they get shot when they're put back into the wild, when they're raised as domestic animals and they don't know how to look after themselves and that. So animal conservation, and my story that I'm still yet to write. It's unfinished, but now once I get my place and I get my laptop, I can sit and concentrate on writing my latest Anahita Wicks story. It's called With a Little Help from My Friends, and it's a story of an Indigenous boy who is suffering from depression because he's bullied at school, and he has suicidal thoughts, and he decides to run away from home and go and live in the forest that his family and ancestors have gone to for centuries in order to connect to Grandmother Earth. But it's actually the Kelly Forest from my book Andre's Dragon. His ancestors go to the Kelly Forest and talk to the animals and talk to the trees, and it's basically a story of Indigenous survival through mental health and bullying, and racial profiling, racial victimisation, as well as animal conservation and nature conservation as well. It's just it's unfinished. I put a little sample of it up on my YouTube. I'll leave a link in the description box. I had it on private because it was only supposed to be for family to hear, because we want to record them, and I'm going to have my friends and family read out certain, they can put on the voices, and we want to record them and broadcast them. I grew up listening to Sunday morning radio where they would tell stories and the actors would put on voices and things like that. So I want to recreate that. So my friends and family are going to put on voices, and we're going to read my story out, and, to promote Indigenous rights, and, support Indigenous mental health, and speak up for human rights, and animal conservation and nature conservation as well. So, pollinating, always thinking, always pollinating, putting it all out there, because, my Indigenous, my Māori background means everything to me. I would love to learn the language fluently. I really would. I'm ashamed to say that I can't speak Māori fluently, but just because I can't speak the language doesn't mean it's not in my heart. My roots are connected to Papatūānuku, to Grandmother Earth, and that's where my soul belongs. And when I die, my body will be buried in America, but my heart will go home to Aotearoa. That's where it belongs. So anyway, I just thought I'd let you know. It's a bit of a long story, so just lay back and listen, and know that I love you all. And when my businesses are up and running, please come in and have a meal, have a lovely healthy meal. When you see my products on the stores, buy them in good faith and know that they're going to take care of you, and they're going to look after your beautiful body and help your beautiful minds. And that when my products are on the shelves and my stores are open and I've got these jobs and that, feel free to embrace the beauty of Queen Bee Industries and know that it was all done in love and faith and out of pure sheer will and determination it came about. And if you can support us to use the money to help those who can't help themselves, then I would be ever so grateful. And you'll be earning brownie points with God as well. So I love you, and I will speak to you soon, and take care, and God bless you all. And yeah, keep smiling, hold your head up to the sun.